everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I want to call it Plant Chat, where I want to go through individual plants, ones that I own for now anyway, and I kind of did some research, talk about where they're from, care conditions, just kind of learn about our plants. So today's plant, I think you might be wondering why I chose this one in particular, and quite frankly, I think she's a little overrated, or underrated rather. You don't hear a lot about her from anywhere. She gets called out a couple times here and there, but to be honest, I really do love her, and she actually sits on my desk beside me every day. Recently, I repotted her. She had some yellow leaves, and I wasn't sure if she had root rot. I was planning to do a repot video with her, but I ended up a little bit panicked because I knew the substrate she was in wasn't drying out fast enough. So I thought it could be the weather, it could be the change of season, but I didn't want to risk it. So what I ended up doing, and I'll try and throw some footage in, was actually repotting her in a soilless dirt substrate, and her roots actually look great. They look great. She's got they're bulbous roots, so she had tons of little bulbs on the bottom, and her roots looked healthy. There was nothing rotting, but I'm just happier now that I've got her into a better substrate. So with that being said, oh sorry, itchy eye. Okay. So with that being said, sorry, I do have notes because I actually did research on this. And let's pull her out. Okay. Ooh, look, isn't she beautiful? I don't have a great picture of when she was little, but I will say she's grown a lot. And she's got a little bit of yellowing on the edges, but as soon as these windows close, which I think is tonight, we're actually dropping down below 10 degrees. So once that happens, I will get the humidifiers going, and she'll thrive. So anyway, she's beautiful, right? Her leaves are they're like, you can just see. Can you see? Is it focusing? The colors and the pattern on her leaves, the stripes. And then underside, can I do this? I can't really tell. The light's not great. Let's see. This side better. I don't know if you can see. That looks green. But her undersides have like a burgundy, kind of brownish red. And obviously she's part of the prayer plant family. So, at night you'll notice, actually it's funny because during the day I can hear her shifting, but they do shift with the light. So at night, she'll have her leaves all standing up straight, like she's praying. So this is the Calathea Makoyana, otherwise known as peacock plant, and recently I just learned cathedral plant. I wonder if that is because the leaves are almost like they're so thin, maybe like stained glass. I don't know. Interesting though. And I did see in my research that her genus had changed to Geoperchia, which I only really saw on one website. So if you guys know anything different, I'm curious to know whether that is real or not. But in the meantime, we're going to keep her with the Calatheas. And she's part of the Taceae family, along with the Tenanthes, the Marantas, and the Stramanthe, etc. There's other ones. So even though, reading my notes, this is so bad. Okay. They are native to Espírito Santo, which is a state of eastern Brazil. And while I really couldn't find anything specific about the environment, I think it's kind of probably rainforest, and their need for humidity and heat would kind of explain that, I think. So that wasn't very helpful, but if you know different, feel free to put it in the comments. All right, care. They like light, indirect, bright, indirect, light. Where I've got her sitting on the corner of my desk here is, I'm going to say about 7 feet from the actual window. And this is an east-facing window, so it actually, because of the trees, we don't get a ton of sun. But I won't move her to any other location because since I put her there, she thrives. I also have my lights on. These are actually grow bulbs in here, and I am going to be getting some more just to give them that additional light through the winter. So the soil, like we talked about, well draining potting mix, right? I would make it chunky enough. I've actually never used this particular mix from Tropics in the City. It's a great mix. I just don't know how I've never used it. So even watering is different because I can usually do it by touch. But I think it's more well draining, and especially through the winter months, I might have to water her more, but she's not going to be holding on to that water and hurting her roots, right? So I'll see. I'll keep you posted on how this one works. So watering, it's best to keep her moist, but not soggy, right? She does not want to dry out. Do not let her dry out, but you don't want her sitting in water either. I usually will, they're really, really fussy on the water. So I used to use even bottled water because my tap water is very, very harsh. So I used to use bottled water, but now I bought one of those shower heads that are like with all the minerals in that filter all the garbage out. So I only use that, and typically, now here's where it's going to be a little bit different because I usually throw them in the shower. That cleans their leaves, gets off any pests, and it waters them really well and thorough. Through the winter, though, you've got to watch because your soil isn't going to dry out as quickly. With this potting mix, I feel like it will. I feel like I should still be able to do that just because it is chunkier, it is going to drain better, and it's got the perlite. What has it got in it? It's got big chunks of perlite, husks, these balls, clay balls that I cannot think of the name of in the moment. But anyway, it's like really, really chunky soil. So I think I'm going to be able to continue doing that. But again, it's going to be a bit of trial and error. I'm going to be watching her closely. Yeah, just like I said, they are finicky about the water. So, I mean, if you have any kind of calatheas, even my Stromanthe, I do not use tap water. I actually don't for any of my plants anymore, but I did, and some were okay. But I do know that these guys, they really browned up. The tips browned. That's what you'll see as browning tips. Okay, so humidity, they love humidity. I don't know if they need humidity to thrive, but I have noticed that last winter and through the summer, I really increased the humidity and she grew a lot. So if you can, I would probably try and keep it at least 50% humidity. And then temperatures, they're going to thrive in the warmer temperatures. You can probably get away with like the lowest 18, which is kind of what I set my house at in the winter. I wouldn't do it for long periods of time. Usually for me, it's just overnight. And then I spike the heat during the day. But anyway, between 23 and 30 degrees Celsius is good for them. And one thing to note too, especially with the winter and especially with heaters starting to go on, that forced air gas, you're going to want to work on air circulation. So if you can get fans, or I guess fans, ceiling fans even, whatever, just keep the air circulating throughout the room. It kind of helps with pests because once, especially spider mites, they love the dry heat, right? So you want to keep the air, I don't know why I'm stuttering. You want to keep the air circulating And it's also good for them. It's good for their roots. It's they just, it's like being out in the wind, right? We know the wind is really good for plants. So keep that in mind too. Fertilizer, okay, we all know spring through fall, you fertilize like a little more generously once a month, depending on the plant, once every 2 months, or 2 weeks rather, depending on how much you give to. I tend, and I can't remember the term for this, I tend to do a little bit, like even a quarter, less than a quarter in my a fertilizer every time I water. It's like constant, but it's not overwhelming. The only time I don't is when I do not see any growth, right? A lot of my plants continue to grow through the winter, and if I'm seeing any kind of growth, I'll try and, give it a little bit of a supplement. Not a lot, just enough, and I really, really, really dilute it. I'm right now using a liquid fertilizer a lot of the time. I do use Bios. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but Bios is really, really good, and it's good for fungus gnats, which a lot of my plants do have Bios as well. It's good for keeping the fungus gnats at bay. It kind of helps work with the bacteria in the root, in the soil, and it is a fertilizer. So that's another one you could look into giving a try. I can actually, I'll put the link below if you're interested. And then really the other one that I would do, and I have done, is worm castings. A lot of the plants through the winter that I know aren't going to do too much, I'll put a layer of worm castings in. It's kind of like a slow release fertilizer, and then I shouldn't have to do anything through the winter at all. So that's kind of what I do for fertilizing. For her, she's not growing at all right now, and because I just transplanted her, I just gave her a really good dose of water, and I'm just going to let her sit. If I do see growth, I might think about giving her some more, and by the way, I forgot, this particular mix of soil also has Bios in it. So it's already got fertilizer in it, so I don't need to do anything else. All right, so I think that covers the main care. If you have any questions, or, if you have your own that's thriving, thriving and doing well, and you've got any secrets to share with everybody, please feel free to leave a comment below. Okay, so otherwise, we talked about their growth patterns. Their new leaves come in a little lighter. Like, I think this one here is a newer leaf. You can see it's compared to the one above. Can you see it? I'm trying to figure it out. It's a little bit lighter. So the new leaves do come in a little bit lighter, and then as they harden off, they darken into this beautiful rich green. They do grow moderately fast. I had a huge growth spurt in, I'm going to say June, July, and I wonder, and I'm thinking of, we had kind of a cooler summer, so, but it was, I don't know. She had a growth spurt, and then she kind of stopped. So I'm watching her growth. If you know more, share it, please. She did about 6 or 7 new leaves at one point, and then she just stopped. So I don't know, maybe when the new soil, maybe when she settles in, she'll grow some more through I don't know. We'll see. That wasn't helpful, but I gotta be honest with you. They only grow about 2 feet tall, which makes it nice, because then you can have them on a desk. They're not going to take over your house at any point. You can have them on a table. They're kind of a perfect size plant, right? You don't have to worry that all of a sudden you're going to have to buy new furniture and build a new house for your plant. They're going to stay pretty much compact. Now, I'd love to see it go crazy further than that, but this is good. She's perfect. She's terrific. What else do we got? Pruning. There really isn't any pruning. I would say I've trimmed off some of the brown tips that I've had, but really, and then the dead leaves, I would get rid of, to get rid of those right away. And then they are non-toxic, by the way. They are non-toxic to anybody, animals included. Propagation is by division. Unfortunately, with these guys, you can't do root cuttings. I haven't tried propagating yet. I propagate a lot, but I think I'm going to wait for her to get a little more mature, bigger, and I want to really get her growth pattern underway. But yeah, so you can actually, you can propagate them by division though. And they do apparently flower, these little small white flowers. So I guess if there's perfect conditions, they will, you'll get some flowering. Maybe this winter. I don't know. So I think that is it for, I don't really have anything else to say about this plant. She's beautiful. I love her. She sits with me all day as I work. And yeah, she's too underrated. So if you do have one and you have any suggestions, anything to help the rest of us, please feel free to share it. Otherwise, thank you so much again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.